Welcome to episode 2 of POV with Kuda Mangwe. Thank you so much for all the loving support you gave me last week. It was really helpful, including some of those comments. We do listen over here. I mean, some of you thought I was John Cena with the hand movements, and others suggested that I get a watch. We're watching, guys, so please keep them coming. But now let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's get it. So last week, we finished off in anticipation of the president's return after his announcement that set the country ablaze. Well, after very little persuasion, the president cut his trip short and came back home. Now, this was good and showed real character from the president. And with his return, also came some return of normalcy for most Zimbabweans. You see, people have gone back to work and the fuel queues have begun to dwindle. In fact, some of them have even disappeared. But that's, of course, because everyone in Zimbabwe can only afford to keep a quarter tank. So I guess the announcement worked. But with his arrival, and not because of his arrival, also came some better news. Somebody please cue the anthem. In a case between the state versus Zimbabwean lawyers for human rights and the Media Institute of Southern Africa represented by advocate Eric Matinenga, High Court Judge Justice Owen Tagu ruled that the Minister of State does not have authority to issue any directives in terms of the Interception of Communication Act. The court said only the president has the authority to make such an order. This means that the internet will never be a colony again. This is monumental and a great show of honor by the justice system, who in most people's eyes does not really give much confidence, especially when they're going up against the state. So this means, guys, that our relationship, short but sweet, with VPNs is done. And can we please delete Telegram? Now, this one's an exciting one. The government, through the Ministry of Transport, reintroduced formal public transport through ZUPCO. Although currently there aren't that many buses in circulation, the move has been felt by all as their introduction has pushed the combi fares down to normal. Now, this is an amazing feat for some because combi fares are almost getting to $300 per month, which can be your monthly salary. So imagine that, working to go to work. But there's been mixed reactions about the move. Like, for example, people are asking, where did they come from? And where were they parked this whole time, and why were they being kept a secret? But they weren't actually being kept a secret. They're actually part of a master plan called the Transitional Stabilization Program, which is a 300-odd page document on reforms whose agenda is to work towards a prosperous and empowered upper middle income society by 2030. I mean, this is great stuff, but of course, it's as well communicated to the public as Trump's nuclear codes. Now, the Deputy Minister, Fortune Chassis, is proud of this move, so much so that he's even taken the bus himself to work. He has stated that the issue of public and private partnership is a welcome development in the country, and the minister promised that they will enhance the public transport system from here on in. But guys, this is ZUPCO. The Zimbabwe United Passenger Company was once the shining pillar of the nation's transportation system, but it was also a company rife with scandal, bribes, misappropriation of funds, firings, theft, so basically a government-run company, which means people have legitimate concerns, and they should, especially around sustainability issues. Some of the buses are private-owned, which means the government has had to hire these as a service from private companies. And some sources are saying it's estimated that it will cost the government upwards of $700 a day just for one bus. Where are they going to get this money? And of course, how are they going to keep them on the road? Each passenger is being asked to part with just $1 for a ride. But as you all know, it's probably cheaper to fly to Dubai than to fuel a car. But I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'm accustomed to having small expectations and big disappointments. So if this ZUPCO thing doesn't pan out, I'm not going to lose sleep. But on a more serious note, we're really rooting for the government on this one. I mean, if managed well, the buses and having a good metro system will be something that's great for us to have. And so, in fact, we're adding ZUPCO to what we're calling our POV watch list, which is a number of stories which we'll routinely follow up on. So stay tuned for that. While for some of us, Zimbabwe has seemingly returned to normal, others are still living in a nightmare. The security forces have maintained a heavy presence in most residential areas in what the government has described as a necessity to quell violence. But it would seem that the idea of controlling violence has been lost to the forces who have allegedly become worse than the criminals they are supposedly watching over. Reports of security forces allegedly committing heinous acts of rape, dehumanizing women, beating young men, and conducting acts of systemic terrorism are awash in the international press. But why? Why is this going on? This is the understanding on the ground. The fact of the matter is, some people took advantage of the chaos to loot and vandalize properties. One gross example of the extent of which this was done was stated by the Grain Millers Association of Zimbabwe chairperson Tafadzwa Msarara, who said the industry lost $3 million worth of stocks in Bulawayo alone. At the current price of mealie meal, that's 500,000 bags of mealie meal gone in just 1 week. Properties were destroyed and businesses ruined, and some citizens became infamous for the wrong reasons. So the military and the police were ordered to crack down on these criminals, but the investigation process is questionable to say the least. In conversations that POV has had with residents, it would appear that the armed forces have been targeting households and residents who live close to where the ashy remains of tires can be found. The rationale being that's most probably where the perpetrators are likely to live. Last week, we mentioned that the police had claimed to have arrested 600 people in connection with these crimes. Currently, these individuals are standing trial and being denied bail, according to prominent human rights lawyer Beatrice Mthuli. Well, the vice president met with the Roman Catholic bishops to try and discuss a way to move forward. But more importantly, in a report from ITV, Nick Mangwana had this to say.
Cases of indiscipline will be dealt with, and heads will roll. So we expect, obviously, if there has been any wrongness from any member of the armed forces or the police, that will be dealt with.
We can only hope that those allegations will be definitely followed up and justice brought swiftly to those who have taken it upon themselves to make other Zimbabweans' life hell. Sadly, as we all know, this last week the world lost an icon. Oliver Mthuli, arguably one of Zimbabwe's finest citizens, passed away at the age of 66 with 66 albums. It was amazing to see how he was able to bring the nation together just one more time as Zimbabweans around the world rallied together to campaign for his national hero status. The question, what is a hero, took social media by storm as many argued that he was indeed a hero because of his great contribution to the country. And just when you thought he couldn't get any more heroic, he then discovered that he too campaigned for the same. His song Hero was written to argue the fact that his friend Safirio Matsigatire, affectionately known as Mukadota, was a national hero. And that was the man he was. A man who brought people together, a man who put us on the map, a man who gave us a voice when we couldn't have the words to say it ourselves. Tuku was declared a national hero and was buried yesterday at his family home. Now, often a lot of people take issue with how a hero is chosen. Most people would believe that the ZANU-PF Politburo are the ones who decide who's named a hero by way of consensus. Now, the optics of it may suggest that, but according to the Constitution, only the president can declare someone a national hero. So if he really wanted to today, he could just say, this person is a hero. So let's hope the message has sunk in, that a hero is not just someone who donned camouflage or showed allegiance to one political party, but is a person who embodies everything about the Zimbabwean spirit, regardless of what he or she did to become a hero in our eyes. And now for a special treat from our friends over at Stand Music, who will be doing an a cappella rendition of one of Tuku's most famous hits.
Kuti kwaita mabasa pano